In Lesson 6.3, we're going to be talking more about percents, but we're going to be talking about unusual ones, percents that are either greater than 100% or less than 1%. So let's talk about them in two sections. Let's do the greater ones first. If you have a percent that's greater than 100, then it represents more than 1. Because if you have one whole, you have it all. You have 100%. So if the number is bigger than 1, then it's going to be greater than 100%. So mixed numbers are always greater than 100%. The thing about these unusual percents is you don't do anything different to them. You work with them the exact same way you do what you would call a usual percent. So to change a fraction, to change a percent into a fraction or into a decimal, you would quote unquote do it the normal way or the way we always do it. So, for example, if we had 112%, you might remember that the way that we take a percent and change it into a decimal is that we drop the percent sign and take the decimal, that's where it would be if it's hiding silently, and move it 2 places over. So 1, 2. So 112% is equivalent to the decimal 1 1200ths, 1.12. Okay? Now if we were going to turn it into a fraction, what we would have to do first is go back to that percent, 112%. Well, I shouldn't say first, but we will. And remember that a percent is a ratio based on 100. So whatever the percent is, this time it's 112, we put it over 100. And then as always with fractions, we simplify it. There is another way to do it, and that would be to start from your decimal. If you've changed your percent into a decimal, then the other way to change it into a fraction would be to read this decimal properly and write it that way as a fraction. So this would be read 1 1200ths. So that would look like 1 1200ths. There we go. Now we could divide these by 4. Then we would have 1 3/25ths. And that's what it would be as a simplified fraction. Now what about the percents that are less than 1? Unfortunately, these are the ones that are the most tricky, I believe. And I think it's because sometimes we're just not used to looking at those decimals with lots of zeros in there. So what if we had a percent that was less than 1? Let's say, for example, we have 0.6%. Okay, we have a very small amount. We want to take that percent and change it into a decimal. So once again, we're going to do it the quote-unquote normal way. The same pattern we followed all along. Drop the percent sign and take the decimal, this time it is showing, and move it 2 times to the left. 1, 2. And of course, if we've got a missing spot, we have to fill it in with a 0. So 0.6% is equivalent tenths, hundredths, thousandths to 6 thousandths. Okay? And just as we did with the mixed number up here, or the large percent, we would turn it into a fraction the same way as well. If we follow the ratio being based on 100, or percent a ratio being based on 100, we could start by saying, okay, this is 6/10, and if that's a percent, then it's based on, I'm not going to fit right there. Let's move it over here. Sorry about that. So let's put our 6/10 here. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Why is it not letting me pick my pencil? There we go. So we take our 6/10 and put it over 100. Now, we can't keep the decimal in the fraction, so we would need to move it over to the end. But remember, we can never do things in math one at a time. We got to do them in pairs. So if we move the top, we also have to move the bottom. So this would change to 6 over 1,000. Now, I want to remind you that over here we had two ways to make it into a fraction. One was to take the percent and put it over 100. The other was to start at the decimal version and read it properly. Well, the same is true here. We took our percent, 0.6, and put it over 100, and then we got rid of the decimal by moving it over or multiplying by 10, top and bottom, when we got 6 over 1,000. Well, let's look at our decimal. What is this? It is 6 thousandths. That's what I have, 6 thousandths. Now, of course, I can simplify this. I could divide by 2, and I would get 3 over 500. So that's our unusual percents. Sometimes they might look a little funny to you, but other than that, just keep doing them the same way we've been working with all of our usual percents. Good luck, everybody.